Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another video. And this is a paid request for Devonte. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, topic, reaction, commentary, review, re-review, thoughts, commentaries, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it. PayPal's usually the best bet. Have a Cash App as well. Links are down below in the info box. I'll get to as soon as I can. And for those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. Trying to get them out to you as soon as I can. But Devonte wanted me to talk about Lymelife, which I'd never heard of this movie, but I guess it was a smaller independent film from 2008 that has a cast of some recognizable people. Rory Culkin and Kieran Culkin, who of course are related, both to Macaulay Culkin. And Rory Culkin is the star. You may have seen him in Scream 4. And then Kieran Culkin, I remember from Home Alone. Don't give him too much Pepsi or wet the bed. He was in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He's been in a few other stuff. So they play brothers. Alec Baldwin is the dad. The mom is played by Jill Hennessy, which I really liked her. I thought she gave one of the better performances in the movie. You also have Timothy Hutton in the film, who was in The Dark Half, the George Romero film. He's been in quite a few other movies. He's someone that knows the family. And then he has a wife and family of his own. Emma Roberts is in the film as the possible love interest to our lead, Rory Culkin, because he has the hots for her. But she kind of just thinks of him as a friend. And it's a coming-of-age story. That's really what it is at the end of the day. It's a coming-of-age story. It takes place in 1979. And the lead character is a fan of Star Wars. He's got like a Han Solo cardboard cutout in his room and has Star Wars toys and thinks a bit about Star Wars. He calls something the Millennium Falcon. Oh, that's like the Millennium Falcon. And really it's about a kid who is very shy at the beginning, very in his own shell, realizes things are not going well with his mom and dad. His dad, Alec Baldwin's a bit of a philanderer, where he has the hots for Timothy Hutton's wife. The mom is very protective of her kids, but at the same time you can tell she means well and she does care. So she definitely has a very likable vibe to her. Kieran, the older brother, has come home from the army, and he's a bit more of a straight shooter. He's a bit more blunt about stuff, while Rory, very much, like I said, in his shell. So you have the bits between Rory and Emma Roberts, and will they or won't they get together. You have the tension kind of rising with the mom slowly figuring out what's going on with Alec Baldwin. Rory Culkin also seeing the signs. And you tell he's really starting to dislike his father because of that. Timothy Hutton, he's a guy who is sick because of Lyme disease. Which, hell, some people might not even know what that is. It's technically from a deer, but a tick will get it. Like if a tick is on a deer, and then the deer was affected, and then you're in the woods or you're something, and the tick gets on you. Obviously, a tick awful anyway, because it takes a bitch to get out. Because if you just rip it out, the head or stuff may still be in there and kind of keep getting in there or trying to crawl in deeper. So it's either you gotta use fire or use special bit to be careful so that you get the head as well as the rest of the body. Nasty business, ticks. And Lyme disease can really affect your mind and your psychosis. So he'll mention about how sometimes he'll feel like he has the flu, other times it feels like his head's on fire. And he keeps lying to his wife, saying he's gone into the city for an interview, but he just veges out in the basement, just trying to deal with this disease. Which, I mean, I've never had Lyme disease, never want to. I think it would be understandable that, you have this disease. It's a bit tough to do anything. So I would think, man, explain this to your wife and maybe she could understand. But obviously, there's something else going on, I guess. And obviously, the husband's a bit kind of shied away from everybody, so the wife wants some hanky panky, and Alec Baldwin, before he starts shooting people, is the one to do it. Here he's just shooting possible blanks, I don't know, in his crotch. The movie I thought was okay at the end of the day. I thought it was an okay film. Because it's not a film I would ever see again, but I didn't mind it because I do think the cast did a good job. Rory Culkin, yes, he played the kind of shy, quiet guy, but he wasn't too pathetic that it got annoying or anything. And I could kind of relate, where I could see a little bit of myself in him way back in the day, where you're into something, him Star Wars, be Ninja Turtles or stuff, and you're kind of just in your bubble, just trying to get by through life, and then stuff has to happen where it finally pulls you out of his shell, which it does here. There's at one point a bully beats him up, and his brothers come home, sees his markings, goes and beats the shit out of the bully, which is a satisfying scene with Kieran Culkin just beating the shit out of the guy. But as time goes on, Rory has gone through a few things, and then he defends himself and beats up the bully himself. And there's some conversations he has with his mom, with his dad, same with Kieran. There's a bit of an intense scene where Kieran confronts Alec Baldwin about what he's doing. And Alice says, maybe I see a little bit of you in me. And Kieran's like, well, I'm not going to ever talk to you again. Never going to speak to you again. So there's some nice tense moments throughout the flick. And I think all the actors do their jobs well. Like I said, Jill Hennessy in particular, I did like her. Like I said, I definitely felt she brought a vulnerability, but at the same time able to give it as much as she takes. One of my favorite moments is she gives the riot act to Alec Baldwin. I'm like, yeah, lady, fuck Alec Baldwin. It's like, you made me sick to my stomach. I'm like, so he does to me as well. For different reasons, but you tell him, lady. Get his ass, Seabass. At least verbally. So I do like she has that moment to stand up to him and stuff. But it's one of those things where I wouldn't say it's anything that changes the game in terms of these type of coming of age stories. Like, the direction is fine, but there's really nothing about the direction maybe to pause and go, whoa, this person's going places, or this really sticks out. I would say, other than the subplot of the Lyme disease and that Timothy Hutton has, like I said, this could have been just any other coming-of-age story that you've seen multiple times in movies. And yeah, I do think the cast definitely helped elevate it a bit. It seems like there's a friendship between Rory Culkin and Timothy Hutton. I kind of wish they delved even more into that. I mean, there's a couple scenes, like there's this bit where they're in a car, and he asks Hutton, how is it having this disease? And he explains a bit. That might have been one of the last times they talked to each other. I wish there was a bit more. Maybe Rory Culkin trying to talk to Timothy Hutton, doesn't know what to say, then Hutton goes, I know about your dad and what he's doing with my wife. And maybe Rory Culkin trying to apologize, and Timothy's, not your fault. And maybe have it where Rory Culkin thinks Timothy Hutton's a better dad than his own dad, or maybe he gravitates this guy, even though he's sick, even though he has Lyme disease, he still thinks of him maybe more as a man than his own dad, because at least this guy has a reason, but he's not cheating on his wife, while Alec is cheating on his wife and doing it for shitty reasons. I wish they would have delved a bit more to that. Because Timothy Hutton sometimes felt like he got lost in the shuffle. Because he has Rory with possible Emma Roberts. Emma Roberts at one point gets mad at him because he spread this lie about her. But eventually they make up. Kieran Culkin I thought him and Rory worked well, made sense because they're real family. So obviously they have a history with each other. But they have some fun banter together. Like the younger one tries to drink some beer, and Kieran's like, "Give that. No, you're not supposed to have that." "Oh well, it tastes like piss anyway." "It is piss." "Shut up, dick." So they work well together. I almost wish the whole movie was about the two of them together and this back and forth. Because I definitely think they had the strongest bond. The second I would say is Rory and the mom, and then third probably, or possibly Rory and Timothy Hutton. But again, I think that could have been delved deeper. Al Baldwin, he's good playing a dickhead, so he didn't really have to do much. Wasn't much of a stretch to do that. The music, there's some recognizable songs in there. For example, "More than a feeling, more than a feeling," and a particular important scene where Rory starts to realize what's going on with his dad and Timothy Hutton's wife. I mean, I did more into spoilers, starting out spoilers. There's a few things I kind of wish they would have done a bit with. Like, they do a little bit with the Lyme disease. Like, there's a steer where Rory Culkin gets a tick, but it's safe. It's fine. It wasn't a diseased one. And then the mom gets mad for, "You should have told me about it." And then, like I said, there's the bit where Rory's asking Timothy Hutton, "How does it feel?" But other than a few scenes of Timothy Hutton kind of being out of it, the Lyme disease stuff kind of goes in the background later on in the movie. Well, aside from, I guess, one important part, to be fair, so. But I guess I thought, with amongst the other characters, I was going to play a bit more into it. Rory and Karen, I wish they had one or two more scenes together later in the film. Because Rory gets mad at her. Again, this is spoilers. He gets mad at his brother because his brother's in the army, but he finds out Karen is like radar on the TV show MASH. He's a radio operator, so he doesn't really go into the front lines. Now, I'd be like, cool, that means he's got to do important work, but he's not going to, he's not going to die. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're in the wrong spot, anybody could, but more than likely, you're going to be in a place of safety. But Rory kind of gets mad. But I thought, no, you thought that. I didn't tell you that. And then Rory kind of leaves in disgust. Maybe I'm wrong and I missed the scene. I could have, and if so, I apologize. But that seemed like the last scene we saw of Karen. I wish we could have seen at least one more scene where Rory's like, "You know what? Sorry about my behavior. I'm just glad you're safe." Because at least I would have shown even more of Rory having learned something from this. But just, I thought he did kind of add like a dit to Kieran. I don't think Kieran's character deserved that. What, you want him to be somewhere where he could die? I did it because you thought he was this tough guy, which he seemed tough standing up to your dad, but you thought he was this badass soldier guy when he's not, Rambo. But still, I get what they're going with, but I still thought Rory character got a bit of a dick. And there's no finality to that, so I kind of wish there was a bit of that added to it. I wish there was a bit more of the Timothy Hutton Rory, a bit more scenes of them kind of bonding throughout this ordeal that they're both facing Rory's dad and Hutton's wife, and kind of in a weird way they're bonding over it. Kind of wish it went a bit more in that direction. I mean, it does end with Al Baldwin pretty much getting thrown out, Rory Culkin and Emma Roberts losing their virginity with each other, and then trying to figure out what to do with the rest of their lives. And then it does end in this weird, ambiguous note, which I did find a bit interesting. And this is where the Lyme disease definitely comes into play, where Timothy Hunt's a bit out of it. From time to time, he'll see visions of this deer, where the Lyme disease came from, because of the tick transferring. So he goes out with a gun, and he's looked at the deer, but then he kind of turns, and Alec Baldwin is there. And there's this nice shot, which is one of the few shots I would give the director credit for, is there's a reflection of Timothy Hutton here in the glass. There's Alec Baldwin here. You see Timothy Hutton kind of aiming the gun, and then it cuts, and you hear a gunshot. Now, you don't know if he just shot the deer. You don't know if he shot and killed Alec Baldwin. So that's ambiguous. So, I mean, it leaves it at least a bit interesting to make you think and wonder what happened. But granted, at the same time, you're kind of sitting there and going, I kind of wish I knew the answer to that, because it'd definitely be an important piece of information for these characters. Granted, Alec Baldwin, I mean, if that happened, couldn't have happened to a better, nicer guy, huh? Actually, would have been fine with that. I would have been fine in seeing that. It's funny. I read up, and apparently at one point in one of these forums, they're spreading this rumor that they saw an ending where they did see the guy get killed. I saw a screening where it had this ending. What? There were two different endings? If there were, I couldn't find any information on it. So if that's the case, if someone was bullshitting about that, that's pretty funny. They just made up an ending. He's like, yeah, I saw it. What? Yeah, they have different endings in different theaters. But, I mean, it's a coming-of-age story. I would say if you're all into Rory and Kieran Culkin as actors, nice showcase for them. If you're into coming-of-age stories, it's okay. Again, it's nothing that I'm going to remember a week or two after this review. But at the same time, they say it was okay. I didn't hate it. I don't think it was a bad film. So, take that for you will. Cool to have a little bit of Star Wars reference in there. Rory Culkin, again, he was likable enough. I like the bit where he's pretending to be a badass in front of the mirror. And he's like repeating what the boy said to him. And he's like, I could have done this, could have done this. Because I think there's a lot of people that kind of, something embarrassing happens, and you're like, man, I should have done this, should have. That was, I think, relatable. I think a lot of people have done stuff like that, so I thought that worked out fairly well. But yeah, there's other aspects I kind of wish they delved into, like I said before. But overall, thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you guys in another video. Bye-bye for now.